My friends, tonight we stand at the threshold of the greatest transformation any soul can experience, the complete surrender of the heart to the divine. What does it mean to give your heart? Is it an empty ritual of words, or is it something far greater? The heart is not just an organ that beats within us. It is the center of our being, the seat of our imagination, the place where creation itself begins. From the moment we take our first breath, we are given the gift of choice, to live by sight or to live by faith, to hold on to fear and doubt, or to release ourselves completely into the hands of the divine. But surrender is not weakness. It is the highest act of power. For to give our heart fully is to align ourselves with the creative force that moves the universe. Tonight, I invite you to step beyond what the world has told you is possible, to let go of every limitation, every fear, and every belief that has kept you small, to say with conviction, Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely. And when you do, the world around you will shift. Because to surrender is not to lose yourself, it is to find yourself in the infinite power of love, faith, and divine imagination. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream or a mere trick of the mind. It is the very essence of creation itself. Every great movement in history, every towering achievement of humanity, every profound work of art, and every personal transformation began in the unseen realm of imagination before it ever took form in the world. But this is not just a human faculty, it is divine in origin. It is the breath of God moving through us, shaping our reality, molding our experience, and bringing into being that which we hold within. When we say, Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely, we are not merely offering words of devotion. We are surrendering the very core of our creative power to the divine, allowing it to work through us in ways beyond our understanding. The heart is the seat of imagination, and imagination is the means through which the divine expresses itself in this world. To give our heart is to give our creative essence, our ability to bring forth what does not yet exist, but is already real in the unseen. Consider for a moment how imagination has shaped your own life. Every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, and every challenge you have faced was first accepted in the quiet chambers of your mind before it manifested outwardly. Whether consciously or unconsciously, the images you have nurtured, the beliefs you have held, and the assumptions you have embraced have determined the course of your life. This is the law at work, unwavering and impartial. The world simply reflects back to you what you have impressed upon your own heart. And so, when we surrender our heart completely to the divine, we are surrendering not in defeat, but in the highest act of faith. We are saying, no longer will I create from fear, from doubt, or from limitation. No longer will I allow the falsehoods of the world to dictate my reality. I will create from love, from faith, from the certainty that the divine and I are one. This is not about relinquishing control. It is about stepping into true power, the power that speaks and knows it is done, the power that calls forth light from darkness, the power that sees beyond the veil of appearances and dares to believe in things unseen. This is the same power that moved over the waters at the beginning of time, the same power that spoke the universe into existence. It was never separate from us, though we may have believed it was. It was always within, waiting for our recognition, waiting for us to awaken to the truth that we are not mere spectators in this life, but active participants in creation itself. When we imagine with faith, we are aligning with divine will. When we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, we are allowing the Creator to move through us. The heart, given freely to God, becomes the place where miracles take shape, where impossibilities dissolve, and where the unseen becomes seen. Faith is more than belief. It is the very foundation upon which all transformation rests. It is the unseen force that carries us from where we are to where we long to be. Without faith, we remain bound by the evidence of our senses, trapped within the limitations of the visible world. But with faith, we step into a realm where the impossible becomes possible, where mountains move, and where the deepest desires of our heart take form. True faith is not wishful thinking, nor is it blind hope. It is the inner certainty that what we seek already exists, even if our physical eyes have yet to see it. It is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the intangible and the tangible, the imagined and the realized. It is the unwavering conviction that what we have claimed in our heart is already ours. This kind of faith does not waver, does not doubt, does not ask how or when. It simply knows. When we say, Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely, we are not merely offering words of surrender. We are choosing to walk by faith rather than sight. We are choosing to see with the eyes of the Spirit rather than the limitations of the world. The heart, once given to God, must trust in the unseen reality that is already set in motion. Just as a seed buried in the soil does not doubt its destiny to grow, Faith does not question whether the unseen will come to pass. It knows that it must. Faith is the bridge between who we are and who we are meant to become. It is what allows us to step beyond our fears, beyond our doubts, beyond the smallness of our past thinking, and into the vastness of divine possibility. Without faith, we remain stuck, repeating the same cycles, living the same stories, trapped by the illusions of lack, limitation, and separation. But with faith, we rise. We walk forward even when the path is not yet clear. We speak life into the formless and watch as it takes shape. The world has taught us to trust only in what we can see, to believe only in what can be measured, proven, and explained. But the greatest transformations do not come from what is seen, they begin in the unseen. The greatest breakthroughs, the most miraculous healings, the most extraordinary manifestations all begin in the invisible realm of faith. The moment we claim something as ours in faith, the universe begins to rearrange itself to bring it into being. It is not magic, it is law. Consider the stories of those who have walked before us, those who have dared to believe in something greater than themselves. Every great figure of faith, every visionary, every leader who changed the world did so not because they had proof, but because they had conviction. They saw beyond appearances. They held on to the truth even when everything around them said otherwise. They did not wait for the world to give them permission to believe. They believed first, and the world followed. Faith is not passive. It is not sitting idly by, waiting for something to happen. It is an active force, a choice made moment by moment. It is the decision to see beyond what is, to live from what will be, to trust that the unseen is more real than the seen. When we surrender our heart to the divine, we are not giving up control. We are stepping into the greatest power there is, the power that does not beg or plead, but simply knows. Faith does not ask for signs, it creates them. Faith does not seek reassurance, it is its own reassurance. Faith does not wait for circumstances to change, it changes them. It is the invisible hand that moves mountains, the silent force that turns dreams into reality, the unshakable bridge that carries us from where we stand to where we are destined to be. To live in the end is to abandon doubt, to release all hesitation, and to step fully into the reality of the fulfilled desire. It is not wishing, not hoping, not waiting, it is knowing. It is the conscious act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and dwelling in it as if it were already so. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight, the mystery that transforms lives, the power that moves mountains and reshapes destinies. The world teaches us to react to circumstances, to believe only what we can see, and to measure reality by what is currently present. But to live in the end is to do the exact opposite. It is to walk by faith, not by sight. It is to step beyond what the senses report and to occupy a new state of being, one in which what we desire has already come to pass. This is not pretense or delusion. It is the very essence of creation. Everything that exists was first imagined and believed before it appeared in the world. Every great achievement, every innovation, every miracle was first an unseen reality before it became a visible one. When we say, "Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely," we are surrendering not only our fears and limitations, but also our old way of thinking. We are choosing to dwell in a new reality, a reality in which we no longer strive, no longer plead, no longer struggle, but instead accept that what we seek is already ours. We do not question how or when, we simply align our hearts with the truth that it is done. To live in the end requires a shift in consciousness. It demands that we let go of the old identity, the version of ourselves that was tied to lack, to struggle, to waiting. It calls us to embody the person who already has, already is, already knows. If we desire healing, we must dwell in the consciousness of wholeness. If we seek abundance, we must assume the state of already being provided for. If we long for love, we must walk as one who is already deeply loved. The external world may not immediately reflect this new assumption, but that does not matter. The unseen always precedes the seen. Just as a seed planted in the ground does not sprout the moment it is buried, the fulfillment of our desire takes form in the unseen before it appears in the physical. But if we waver, if we fall back into doubt, if we allow circumstances to dictate our state of being, we uproot the very seed we have planted. Living in the end is about persistence, about unwavering faith, about remaining steadfast in the assumption that our desire is already a reality. The mind, if left unchecked, will always seek to return to what is familiar. It will argue, it will question, it will insist on looking for evidence before believing. But true transformation happens when we reverse this order. When we believe first, when we feel first, when we live from the end result, even in the absence of external proof. The world then must conform, for that is the law of creation. Consider for a moment the greatest moments of change in your own life. Were they not preceded by a shift in your thinking, a change in how you saw yourself, a new way of feeling about your place in the world? The external world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back to us the state we most consistently occupy. If we continue to identify with lack, with fear, with waiting, then that is what will be reflected back to us. But the moment we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, truly assume it without contradiction, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match our inner reality. To live, in the end, is to surrender control in the most powerful way possible, not by giving up, but by accepting. Accepting that what is unseen is just as real as what is seen. Accepting that our desires were placed in our hearts for a reason. Accepting that the divine is not outside of us, but within us, moving through us, waiting only for us to claim what is already ours. The law of assumption is the unseen force that governs all creation, the silent yet powerful principle by which every experience in our lives is shaped. It states that whatever we assume to be true, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes our reality. Our world is not shaped by external conditions, nor by chance or fate, but by the beliefs and assumptions we hold within. The life we are living at this very moment is nothing more than the outward reflection of the assumptions we have persistently entertained. Every person, every event, every circumstance we encounter is drawn to us by the assumptions we hold. This is not a philosophy or a theory. It is an absolute law, as precise and unfailing as the law of gravity. The challenge, however, is that most people assume without awareness. They assume failure before success, struggle before ease, and lack before abundance. They see their circumstances as separate from their inner world, never realizing that their circumstances are merely the projection of what they have unconsciously accepted as true. When we say, "Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely," we are not merely asking for divine intervention. We are aligning ourselves with the highest truth. We are surrendering every false assumption that has kept us bound to limitation, and we are stepping into the assumption that the divine and we are one, that we already are, already have, and already embody all that we seek. This shift in assumption is not a minor change in perspective. It is the very key to transformation. If a person assumes they are unworthy, life will reflect back to them experiences of rejection, disappointment, and struggle. If they assume that success is reserved for others but not for them, they will find themselves encountering obstacles at every turn. But the moment they shift their assumption, the moment they dare to accept a new truth, the entire structure of their reality must change to accommodate that new belief. The law of assumption does not ask whether something is logical or possible. It does not require external validation. It simply responds to what we persistently accept as true. This is why those who succeed often do so not because they are more talented, more gifted, or more fortunate than others, but because they have assumed success as their natural state. They do not question whether they will achieve their goals. They live as if it is already done. And because they persist in this assumption, the world reshapes itself to reflect their belief. The key to mastering this law is not in forcing external change, but in transforming the inner world. It is not enough to merely wish for something or to speak words of faith without feeling them to be true. The assumption must be felt. It must be lived. It must become so deeply ingrained in the subconscious mind that it no longer requires effort. Just as a person does not struggle to believe in their own name, their age, or their identity, so too must they reach a state where their desired reality feels as natural and unquestionable as the life they are currently living. This is why many struggle to change their circumstances. They attempt to do so while still holding onto the same assumptions that created their current reality. They pray for abundance while secretly assuming lack. They seek love while deep down believing they are unworthy of it. They ask for healing while continuing to identify as broken. But the law is infallible. What is assumed is what will be experienced. The change must happen at the level of identity. One must no longer merely wish to be wealthy, loved, or whole. They must assume they already are. The world does not create our assumptions. Our assumptions create the world. This understanding is the difference between living a life of struggle and living a life of mastery. Every transformation begins with a shift in assumption. The moment we accept a new reality in our minds, the process of its physical manifestation has already begun. There is no need to force, to strive, or to beg, only to assume and persist. The only requirement is that we refuse to contradict our new assumption with doubt, with old patterns of thinking, or with the habits of our past self. This law is always in motion, whether we are aware of it or not. It is not something we turn on or off. It is the governing principle behind all experience. Those who understand it use it deliberately. Those who do not remain at the mercy of unconscious beliefs, but no one is exempt from its operation. The choice is always ours, to continue assuming from the limitations of the past, or to step into the assumption of our highest and most divine potential. The greatest truth ever spoken was this: the kingdom of God is within you. Yet for centuries, humanity has searched for it outside themselves, looking to distant heavens, sacred places, and external authorities to grant them what was never separate from them to begin with. The kingdom is not a faraway realm, not a place to be reached after death, not a reward for righteous living. It is a present reality, an eternal state of being that exists within every individual, waiting only to be recognized and claimed. To understand the kingdom within is to awaken to the realization that we are not merely passive beings at the mercy of fate, but divine creators, shaping our reality through the consciousness we hold. Every thought, every belief, every assumption we entertain is a movement within this inner kingdom, determining the world we experience. The external world is nothing more than the reflection of our inner state. To change what is seen, we must first transform what is unseen. When we say, "Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely," we are not pleading with a distant power. We are aligning with the truth that God is not outside of us, but within us. We are surrendering to the divine presence that has been within us all along, allowing it to express itself fully through our thoughts, emotions, and actions. This surrender is not an act of weakness, but an act of supreme power. It is the recognition that we do not need to seek outside ourselves for what is already ours. The kingdom within is not governed by the laws of the material world. It is not bound by scarcity, limitation, or time. It operates according to an entirely different law, the law of assumption, the law of faith, the law of being. What we assume to be true within this inner realm becomes our lived experience. When we accept abundance in our consciousness, we experience abundance in our lives. When we assume love, we become love and draw it to us effortlessly. When we dwell in the feeling of peace, peace becomes the foundation of our world. This is why those who seek external validation, external proof, or external change before shifting their inner state find themselves trapped in an endless cycle of struggle. They look to the world to give them a sign, never realizing that the world is only responding to the signs they themselves have projected from within. They wait for circumstances to change before they believe, never realizing that belief itself is the force that changes circumstances. The kingdom within does not respond to waiting. It responds to knowing. To access this kingdom, one must first turn inward. One must quiet the noise of the external world, still the restless mind, and enter into the silence where the true self resides. It is here, in the depths of being, that all things are made new. It is here that we discover we are not separate from the divine, but one with it. It is here that we find the answers, the guidance, the wisdom that no book, no teacher, no doctrine can ever truly give. The kingdom within is the source of all power, all creation, all fulfillment. It is the place where miracles are conceived before they are born into the world. Those who understand this truth live differently. They do not react to the world, they shape it. They do not beg for change, they assume it. They do not fear loss, for they know that nothing real can ever be lost. They do not seek salvation outside themselves, for they have found it within. They walk with a quiet confidence, a deep certainty that all they need is already theirs, waiting only to be claimed. The external world is temporary, ever-changing, subject to the rise and fall of circumstances. But the kingdom within is eternal, unshakable, untouched by the illusions of lack or limitation. It is the source from which all things flow, the infinite wellspring of life itself. Those who dwell in this kingdom need not chase after their desires, for they understand that all they seek is already present within them. The moment they accept this truth, they step into a life of ease, of grace, of effortless creation. To live from the kingdom within is to live from a place of divine authority. It is to recognize that we are not here to struggle or strive, but to create and to express the highest vision of ourselves. It is to know that the power we have been searching for was never separate from us, never withheld from us, never outside of us. It was always here, waiting for us to remember. Love is the highest law, the purest force, and the greatest mystery in existence. It is not a fleeting emotion, not a transaction, not something to be earned or withheld. It is the very nature of God, the essence of creation, the foundation upon which all things rest. To love is to align with the divine. To surrender to love is to surrender to the greatest power there is. Yet, for so many, love is misunderstood. The world has conditioned us to see love as something external, something to be sought, something that must be proven or possessed. We have been taught that love is dependent on conditions, that it must be earned through worthiness, that it can be lost through failure, that it is fragile, unreliable, and scarce. But true love, the love that is divine, eternal, and unchanging, is none of these things. It is not given or taken away, it simply is. It is the fabric of reality, the breath of existence, the unseen force that moves all things toward harmony. When we say, Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely, we are not merely offering devotion, we are offering love itself. We are surrendering the small, fearful self, the ego that clings to control, the mind that insists on separation, and we are stepping into the vast, infinite embrace of divine love. This surrender is not about losing, it is about returning to the truth that love was never something outside of us, but the very core of our being. Surrendering to love means releasing resistance. It means no longer fighting against life, no longer struggling to force things into place, no longer believing that we must earn what was always freely given. Love does not ask for struggle. It does not require suffering. It only asks that we allow it to flow through us, unrestricted, unguarded, uninhibited. The more we let go, the more we allow love to move in and through us, the more we experience the fullness of life itself. Yet for so many, surrendering to love feels like a risk. To love deeply, to give completely, to trust without conditions. These feel like acts of vulnerability, of exposure, of loss. But in truth, love is the safest place there is. It is only the illusion of separation that makes love seem dangerous. Only the fear of being hurt that causes us to build walls around our hearts. But love does not wound. It is not love that brings pain, but the absence of it, the resistance to it, the withholding of it, the fear of embracing it fully. To surrender to love is to surrender to God. It is to say, I no longer hold myself apart from you. I no longer resist the truth of who I am. I no longer live in fear, in doubt, in hesitation. I open my heart fully, completely, without reservation. And in this surrender, all things change. The world softens, miracles unfold, the struggle ceases. Because love, when allowed to move freely, heals all wounds, dissolves all fears, and transforms every aspect of life. Love is not just something we feel, it is something we become. The moment we surrender to love, we step into our highest nature. We begin to see the world not through the eyes of lack and limitation, but through the eyes of abundance and grace. We no longer seek love outside ourselves, for we recognize that we are already one with it. And in this recognition, we become vessels of love itself, radiating it effortlessly, attracting it naturally, embodying it completely. There is no greater freedom than this, the freedom of no longer needing to protect oneself, no longer fearing rejection or loss, no longer believing that love is something distant or conditional, the freedom of knowing that love is the very breath we breathe, the very life that flows through us, the very force that holds the universe together. To surrender to love is to surrender to the deepest truth of existence, that we are not separate, that we are not alone, that we are already whole. This surrender is not passive. It is the greatest act of courage. It is choosing to trust when trust feels impossible. It is choosing to give when giving feels uncertain. It is choosing to open the heart when every past wound says to keep it closed. But when we do, when we finally release the need to control, to hold back, to protect, we find that love was always waiting for us. It was never absent, never withheld, never beyond reach. It was simply waiting for us to surrender. The journey of the heart is a journey of surrender, of releasing fear, doubt, and limitation, and stepping fully into the truth of who we are. When we say, Lord, take my heart and make it yours completely, we are not asking for something outside of ourselves to intervene, but rather awakening to the power that has been within us all along. To embrace the power of imagination is to recognize that we are the architects of our reality, shaping our world through the thoughts we hold and the assumptions we accept. Faith becomes the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the force that allows us to persist in belief when the physical world has not yet conformed. Living in the end teaches us that we do not need to wait for external proof. We must assume and dwell in the reality of our desires as if they are already fulfilled. Through the law of assumption, we understand that life does not happen to us. It happens through us. Our experiences are reflections of our deepest beliefs, and by shifting those beliefs, we shift everything. The kingdom within is our direct access to the divine, the infinite wellspring of power that needs only to be claimed. And at the center of it all, love as the ultimate surrender calls us to release our fears, to trust completely, and to allow the divine to move through us without resistance. This is the truth that transforms lives, It is not about striving, nor about waiting for permission, nor about looking to the external world for validation. It is about stepping into the fullness of our divine inheritance, knowing that what we seek is already ours. It is about surrendering, not in weakness, but in absolute trust, knowing that when we align with the divine, we lack nothing. When we assume our highest good, it must manifest. When we live in love, we become one with the very force that governs all of creation. And so, let the prayer be more than words. Let it be a commitment, a way of being, a complete transformation of the heart. Let it be the moment we step beyond doubt and into certainty, beyond separation and into oneness, beyond limitation and into the infinite. For when we surrender fully, we do not lose, we gain everything.